Have you ever had a moment that made your skin crawl? A shadow where there shouldn't be one? A whisper in an empty room, or something you simply can't explain? If so, we want to hear from you. Here at the Haunted UK podcast, we're always on the lookout for spine-tingling stories to feature in our end-of-season listener episodes and our short haunt series. Whether it's a chilling encounter, a mysterious experience, or something that's haunted you for years, we want your tale. Send your story to contact us at hauntedukpodcast.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Facebook, X at Haunted UK Pod, TikTok and Instagram at Haunted UK Podcast, or visit our website www.hauntedukpodcast.com. Now, if you love what we do and want even more haunted goodies, then you can support the show on Patreon and Ko-fi. We've got 2 brilliant tiers, Possessed and Spooked, both packed with bonus content, exclusive episodes, and extra material that'll keep you up all night. But that's not all. We've launched a brand new sister podcast, Haunted UK Fiction, and we're calling all storytellers. Whether you're a published author, an aspiring writer, or someone with a natural gift for spinning eerie tales, we're looking for original fictional short stories and novellas with strong paranormal or supernatural themes. Think suspenseful, mysterious, atmospheric, terrifying, thought-provoking, even darkly magical. If your story is selected, we'll professionally narrate, record, mix and master it into an audiobook-style format, then feature it on the show. You'll get a copy of the finished production to use however you like, and you'll retain full ownership of your work. Submit your story to hauntedukfiction@hotmail.com and follow us on Instagram at hauntedukfiction. So whether it's truth or fiction, if it's haunted, we want it. Now, sit back and enjoy the episode. Welcome to Talk Haunts, to a man who is the synth master, the godfather of electronic music, who is hugely influential, always pioneering, with an incredible career, selling over 10 million records, with such era-defining classics as Cars and Our Friends Electric, as well as incredible albums in recent years such as Splinter, Savage, and a favourite of mine, Intruder. You won the Ivor Novello Award in 2017 for inspiration and contribution to songwriting, and this summer you stunned audiences with a spectacular set at Glastonbury. You are currently on the UK leg tour of the Telekon 45th anniversary tour and have very kindly agreed to take a break from rehearsing and illness now to talk some haunts with us today. Hopefully some haunted houses you've lived in and all things supernatural. Without further ado, it's only bloody Gary Numan. Gary, how are you?
Oh, I'm all right now, thank you. You cheer me up. I'm okay. I'm okay, thank you. It's busy. It's a very busy period, so it's it's an awkward time to not feeling too good, but it's okay.
Well, we are absolutely thrilled to have you on the show for this Christmas special, and you are, of course, as we've already said, rehearsing for the Telekon 45th anniversary tour. How is it all going? We've had a brief chat before you just came on, but how is it all going, and how did the US leg of the tour go as well?
Well, the US leg wasn't Telekon. I'm only doing it here.
So sorry.
It's a completely different set of songs. So that adds quite a lot of work to it. And not only that, we just spent the last few months doing one batch of songs. In fact, two different batches of songs, because we were doing one batch of songs when we were with Psychedelic Furs, and then we would do lots of shows on our own while they were resting. They did quite a lot of resting. So we would then do a different set, like an expanded set for that of songs, and then we come here for Telekon, and all of that's gone. So it's a completely new batch of songs.
Oh my God.
And the problem is that they're, Telecon's from 1980. I wasn't meant to be doing Telekon this year. I was meant to be doing this tour was meant to be for a new album. And I started that December last year. Got a couple of songs in, and then my wife Gemma got really sick. And that's been a bit of a saga for this year, which is still ongoing. And that just took my mind off it, to be truthful. There was so much going on, and it was very worrying. And the last thing you're thinking about is, arty-farty ideas for songs when you've got something more serious going on. So I didn't write anything. I haven't written anything since January. So I need to get back into that. We're nearly at the end of Gemma's Problems now. There's one more thing to do in London when this tour's finished, actually. But the problem with the Telekon thing is that I don't listen to my own stuff. I don't remember it very well. So I have to, every time we start learning a new song, we have to get the original up or a previous live version of it, something like that, which tend to be a bit better. And then just remind how it goes. I can't remember the lyrics. I can't remember the arrangements. And, it comes back, but it's not that familiar. So there's an awful lot of treading old ground to try to remember what you were aiming for with the songs and how you sing them, because your voice changes in 45 years, and you've got to try to sing them the way you did as a grumpy sort of 21-year-old with all that angst, which I don't really feel anymore. So it can be a bit awkward sometimes, but it's good. I'm actually enjoying it. I as a rule, I hate nostalgia. I don't really have that much to do with it. And so these anniversary tours happen once in a while when it's a particularly significant anniversary of a significant record. Telekom's number one, so that makes it significant. 45 years is a big deal. And so apart from that, though, I don't really like it that much. It feels like a step backwards, to be honest. But when you do it once in a while, it's good. It's good fun.
I find that view absolutely fascinating from, artists such as yourself, musicians and writers such as yourself. And I've heard this a number of times from other people such as, say, David Gilmour or somebody like that, who do feel that when they go and tour these, these huge kind of seminal albums or moments in time, they don't really like doing it. They, as you've just said, they find it a step backwards, and I find that fascinating. That you actually, as you say, you don't really listen to your own stuff, and then you have to kind of go back and try and retrack and write. How did I do it before, and what was the arrangement before, and what arrangement is going to fit the show better? And I find that absolutely fascinating. That's a really, really great view.
The thing to bear in mind, I think, with all of these sorts of discussions, is that we're creative people by nature. That's why we got into it to begin with. We didn't get into it to make 10 songs and sing them for the rest of our lives. That wasn't the point. The point was to come up with something new that hopefully hadn't been done before, and then you just keep on trying to do that. So every album you make is an attempt to move forward, to try to find something else, another subject or new batch of sounds or another way of putting it all together, whatever it might be. So that's the point of it. And if you're not doing that, you don't feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. That our function is to move forward and to keep coming up with new things and make new records. It's not to repeat constantly things that we've done in the past. And I know there are people out there that do it. There are plenty of these nostalgia tours that go out there, and I've even softened on that. I used to really hate them, but I've softened on that a little bit because I've sort of come to realise that people's careers go in different directions. Some people are lucky and have a very long one, but they can keep on making new music. That's me and people like me. There are other people whose careers were fantastic, but they didn't really have that opportunity. They've not been able to get a new record deal or whatever, or maybe they just run out of ideas and enthusiasm, who knows, but they still want to do it. They still like doing it. So for them, those sort of tours, those nostalgia tours are fantastic. You know, they can earn good money. They can go out and play the songs they like. They don't have the pressure or the stress of coming up with new stuff all the time. And it is an enormous pressure. I feel it. You know, every time I start a new album, I'm grumpy. I'm not easy to be with. And so, you know, there's a price to pay for wanting to keep moving forward all the time, because it's a never-ending pressure on you to come up with something, you know, better than you've done before. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. You know, and it's I feel it. Every album, I've said this many times, every album feels like a mountain to climb. But every new album, the mountain gets a little bit steeper and a little bit taller. It gets harder, not easier. As you get older, you know, it's harder not to repeat yourself. It's harder not to fall into similar answers to certain problems, you know, musically speaking. So it just gets more difficult. But, you know, at the moment, I'm still willing to start climbing. This year should have been a bit weird, that's all.
I'm just really glad you're still climbing. I'm just going to stretch this out for a tiny bit longer, because I've mixed and mastered music for a lot of songwriters, singer-songwriters and bands. Nobody famous, nothing like that, but it's always something that I've done for many years. And I would just love to ask this question to someone such as yourself, Gary. How does your songwriting process begin? Do you have an idea initially, or does something spark you? Do you have a concept, such as, say, that concept of the earth speaking to people, telling them, you know, you're doing this to the earth, you know? Do you have a concept in mind? Do you stumble upon something and then do you begin writing lyrics? Or do you have a studio at home and then you go into it and start to tinkle around a bit and then find something that is maybe accidental but triggers you and sparks you? How do you get there?
The lyrical side of it is the last thing that I do. The conceptual side of it is probably the first thing I come up with. Say the new one. The new one is to do with that I'm supposed to be working on. The new one's going to be about AI, but not AI in that we're going to talk about AI itself, but the effect it's going to have on humanity. The same way that Savage was what a climate apocalypse would have on humanity. That's been a key thing for me, I think, for many of my records. It's always what's going to happen to humanity because of this. Replicas was right back at the beginning. Replicas was effectively about AI, although I didn't know it then. But Replicas was where you hand over control of everybody to a machine, because it is cannot be corrupted, cannot be bribed, super efficient. You know, that was the idea of what the story that Replicas is built around. Lots of other little things built into it. You know, they create an elite. Essentially what happened with that one, you know, the machine realizes fairly quickly that the only obstacle to a smooth running society is people. So it has to get rid of people, and then everything runs smoothly. And so it can't just kill everybody, because it would get turned off. So it devises a test where the lower intelligence amongst the population are taken away, supposedly re-educated, and then brought back into society as more productive people. They're not, they're killed. But it's done so slowly and so sneakily over time that nobody really notices. But there is an elite, a super smart elite at the top, that are pretty wise to what's going on. So it's aware of that, and it brings them into it and says, what we're actually doing is this. And you're going to be all right. You're going to be safe. You're going to be fabulously wealthy, and you're going to be the only humans left, you and your people. And so it creates certain entertainments for them. One of them is Zomzoms, a restaurant that looks over the park, where the machines are programmed to do terrible things to people. It's like a sort of futuristic idea of the gladiatorial games for the Romans. And so I don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm meant to be talking about replicas, but anyway, so So I've been interested in what happens to humanity from the very beginning, and it's flared up all through it. Dead Sunrise Intruder was slightly different, but it's all connected. Savage, obviously, and various other ones along the way. Even some of Pleasure Principle was involved with that. That was more technological, but yeah. So with the new one, that it's a similar thing. So I've come up with that concept that this is going to be what's going to happen to humanity because of AI. Now, there's quite a few options for what that might be, but the ones that are really interesting are the ones that are more extreme. You wouldn't want to write an album about something where, it's okay. Everything's settled down and we all just got on. Oh, great. That's fantastic. But no, you don't want that. It's going to be devastating and, there's going to be annihilation and blah, blah, blah. So you're trying to find something that's possible, so it mustn't just be ridiculously nonsense science fiction, but something that's definitely possible, but is the extreme end of it, because then it's interesting to write about. And visually you can come up with good ideas for certain lines in songs and things like that. And it's good to carry on to stage. It's more fun that way. You can be more dramatic, So so that's first. And then I go into the studio and I just tinker about and see what happens. I don't go in there with ideas very often musically. I know that what I want the album to be about, so I know there is an atmosphere that I'm looking for. So you just start to tinker about in a certain direction, and things just come. Funny thing is that the only thing I don't really think about is the musical side of it, which you would think would be the most important. I just assume that's going to happen. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to sit down and something's going to happen. So I don't have to worry too much about that. It doesn't always, but, eventually it does. And then when the music is done, the music, the atmosphere of the music, the feel that it gives you, that guides you to what the words are going to be. What you want it to be about broadly. But the lyric is the detail of those ideas, and it's the music that guides you. So I just sit there and I have it on loops. It just goes round and round and round, and I just lose myself in the feeling of it. And then it just starts to come. It's almost like that weird thing, you do auto writing. It's not that. It leans that way a little bit. You just let it all happen, and that way I find that if your music drives the lyric, sometimes you'll write something and it just, oh no, that doesn't fit. It might be a nice line, but it doesn't. That music is going, whoa, and the line is, hey, oh no, that's not right. And so it just helps you to be surrounded by that atmosphere to guide you into lyrics. So lyrics usually pretty quick, to be honest. I normally knock them out in a. If I'm not doing well, I can knock it out in the morning. Sometimes it'll take all day, but it doesn't normally take longer than that because it's already guided. You've got your theme, you've got your atmosphere. You're just filling in details with the lines. It's trying to find poetic ways of saying simple things.
When I read Revolution, your autobiography, which I really, really enjoyed, by the way, I found it really relatable. How you talk about anxiety, raising your family, and the challenges that you face. But you talk about writing a lot, and you often would start sort of a science fiction story or a novel, and then that sort of turns into an album. And I just sort of wondered if the lyrics kind of finish off that novel, or is there a link between the novel and the lyrics? And I found that quite fascinating.
Well, there is, but normally. It's normally just notes for a book.
Okay.
I'm always trying to write a book, always, never finish one. Never really started one, if I'm honest, but I'm always writing notes for them. And I would love to in the future, when I can slow the music side of me down a little bit, I would like to write books. It's like an unfulfilled ambition for sure. But if you take the Savage album, for example, that started out as a book called Ruin. And the idea of the book was that there was it's apocalypse happened, Earth is devastated, everyone's got tribal, it's unbelievably brutal. Everyone's out for themselves, and the little groups forming, And as humans, I honestly think that if you took the trappings of civilization away from human beings, within a week, you'll be killing each other. And I absolutely believe that for a fact. I saw a program recently about a cruise ship where the toilets got bunged up.
Yes.
And see, within a day, they were at each other. They weren't killing each other, but they were at each other's throats. Everyone's looking out for themselves almost instantly, and goodwill goes out the window. Now, you put that on a global apocalyptic type scale, and the cruelty. Well, look at Sudan now. The cruelty inherent in human beings is staggering.
Yeah.
We are such horrible creatures.
Yeah,
horrible
we are.
creatures.
We are.
Another thing, I firmly believe, absolutely believe. My wife has been telling me this for years, and I was arguing against it, but now I think she's right. We're not meant to be here. And I really mean this. We are a mistake. We it's like we're like a two-headed snake. We're not supposed to be here. We're one of nature's experiments that went wrong, but unfortunately didn't die off. And so we've just run amok for centuries now, doing unspeakable things to each other, to the planet. And the best thing that could happen to this planet is that we die. And then and it's not even going to be nice when we're gone. Everything eats. This is what I'm not religious either. This is what makes me laugh about religion. Really, you've got this system which is inherently cruel from top to bottom. Everything eats. God's answer to overpopulation, is to create something else with big teeth to eat you. That's how you're going to control antelope. I'll invent a lion. Brilliant. It's so. And I'm being really, really glib. I know it's a much more deeper subject than that, but it's so brutal.
It is.
And so uncaring and so terrifying on almost every level. We go on holiday all the time, and we choose where we're going because of the sharks. There are things in the sea that will eat you because you want to have a swim. What kind of place is this? It's like some horror film, science fiction horror film, where they land on a planet. They crash land a spaceship on a planet, go into the sea, and something leaps out, and we go, "Oh, that's terrible." We've got that.
Yeah,
we've got that. We've got things that eat us.
Yeah.
Let's say you go for a walk in the jungle and see if you come out. You probably won't, because there's something in there that'll eat you. There are snakes. Who invented a snake?
Terrifying.
What a horrendous world this is.
It is.
And then there's us, If I went down Brighton High Street tomorrow night at midnight, I have very little chance of getting back without a punch in the face. Very little. So it's just a rubbish world, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It's brutal. It is. Yeah, and you're right. And the sea as well. The sea is like an unknown, isn't it? I always think about the sea. What the hell is at the bottom of the sea? It's like space.
All I will say with things like this is, like, as you just said, Gary, it's, you'll go swimming in the sea and a great white shark will attack you. That great white shark has evolved over millions and millions and millions of years.
Yep.
It's been here way longer than we ever have.
Yep.
And it'll be here for way longer than we ever will be.
Yep.
So what right do we have to start going and slaying these animals, to start going and bringing something like, a species of tiger to the brink of extinction? We've done it with rhinos. We've done it with everything.
Yeah.
And we are absolutely horrible creatures. And that is what we are. We are a creature. And it almost reminds me of a lot of these sci-fi films where the whole plot of the sci-fi film is an alien race will descend on Earth and it will start to just annihilate the human race because it is a collector of species and it just wants to get rid of them and farm them. And you're just thinking, a lot of these directors and writers, are you writing about the human race, really? Because that's exactly what we do. We can't resist it, Gary. We can't stop ourselves from just destroying stuff, just getting rid of it, just battering the planet constantly. And I think that's what aggravates the living crap out of me right now, where so many people are trying to do so much good in the context of the planet, yet we've still got monstrous superpowers just obliterating each other at will, with who are unanswerable. You can't stop them.
No.
And what's the point? What is the point?
Yep.
I'm getting off my soapbox.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree. And, you would hope that there will be incremental progress in terms of government and care for each other. And, and then you have, I have to be careful to talk about American politics now, because they might not let me back in, even though I'm a citizen. Yeah, I've even got my American passport, and I'm scared. It's funny, man. I'm 67 years old now, and I've never ever before in my life been scared to say what I think about something. Not from a government sort of point of view, where I might be banned or something. I've been worried about what I say because I might get crucified in the press or something, but to actually, my friend wrote to me recently and was talking about the situation in America, and I had to write back and said, I do have opinions about this, but I'm actually reluctant to write them down, because when I go back to America, to where I live, then they're going to look at my phone, they're going to see that, and they might not let me in.
Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah.
I think the other thing that you have to look for is, again, I'm not zeroing in on any particular group, but I think what you also have to look at now is if you're a person who is incredibly well known in the media world, such as yourself, Gary, you do have to be careful what you say, because if you upset a small faction of a group, or a small, you have no idea what can go wrong. And we've seen this many times in the past, where people have just been attacked on the street just because of an opinion that they have about politics, or that they have about religion, or again, even against another musician or another actor or somebody like that. It is frightening. That you actually just had a recent experience, Marie, when you were just out watching a movie.
Yeah, we went to see Frankenstein. Yeah, and we came out, and there was a group of young lads all dressed head to toe in black with batons and knives coming towards us, and they ran through us like bats. We didn't know what to do. It was terrifying. It just makes you feel really vulnerable. Yeah.
What was that all about? I've not heard of anything like that.
Yeah, I know. I just went to the cinema, came out with my friend, and just saw this gang of youths just sort of run. There was police sirens. Something could obviously happen. They've been busted or something, and they were running from the police, and they were just coming towards us. We felt like deers in the headlights, and it was just didn't know what to do. And they just sort of ran through us. And all we could do is just sort of look down and just, hope for the best. But yeah, it does make you realise that violence is about and near.
Back in the late 70s, I was in a band called True by Army.
Yeah.
And I got the name True by Army from reading an article of something that was happening back then. So this would have been, I don't know, 75, 76, 77, that sort of time maybe. And there were gangs of lads going around the underground. The train would pull up, they would get off the underground, beat up anyone that was there on the platform, and get back on the train as it went away again. And I don't think it lasted very, very long, but I remember reading this article about that, and it was that article that not only got within the name of the record, or the name of the band rather, but started me thinking about the whole replicas, what London's going to be in the future sort of thing. That's where it all came from, that one article. So that sort of mindless gang sort of violence has probably been around forever.
Yeah, it has.
It's
nothing
I got
new.
stabbed,
Really? Gosh.
Yeah. When I was, I wasn't driving. Was I driving? I can't remember. Maybe 17.
Oh my
16,
God.
17.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
It was.
I'd gone to see a band at the Marquee in Wardour Street in London, and I was with my girlfriend, and I'd looked around to get something from her. She was a few steps behind me. And as I looked forward, the fist was already on its way. he must have been throwing
Slow
it while I was
motion.
looking back. Not that I'd done anything. And so, boom. And there was 5 or 6 of them, I think. And I got stabbed in the ear and had to go to hospital. And
Crikey.
nearly messed my career up before it even started.
Yeah, with your inner ear, yeah, that would be detrimental. That's Oh, well, humans can be horrible. That is a lesson.
That can be horrible.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
And yet we're more scared of ghosts, isn't that mad?
Yeah. We should probably talk about ghosts, shouldn't we?
So Gary's entire rehearsal day is now gone.
What is your stance on ghosts, Gary? The paranormal, is it something you believe in, or is it something in between, or are you a skeptic?
No, I totally believe. In fact, Gemma's just handing me something, because we've got, I don't know if you do know, we've got a house in Scotland as well as our American one.
The castle.
That lots of stuff happens. Yeah, well, it's just big house really, but so this is from Lissy, who looks after the house for us. Jack and Lissy live there and look after it for us. And Jack is the bass player in my daughter's band, so he's down here with us because we're rehearsing in separate rooms because Raven is supporting me on the tour.
Yeah.
So Lissy is back in that house on her own for the first time.
Right. Okay.
And we've just been up there for a few days, and I have to say that it felt much calmer. I didn't have that feeling of being watched all the time the way that I used to when we were up there. This is before the Ghost Hunter people program went up there. But then there's this is from Lissy. It says ghost update. Did my final checks before bed. Go up to the top floor hallway and one bulb has gone out. Later, I'm in bed watching a program and I start to hear what sounds like a faint sound of an old-fashioned child's jewelry box music.
Oh my God.
I pause my program. The music continues about 20 seconds. Put my program back on for a little while, go for a pee. Whilst I'm in the bathroom, I hear the music again. Old, distorted, twinkly music box sound, like a jewelry box or maybe a Victorian carousel. I don't know the melody, but it sounds like a children's song. And then it stops. I go back into the bedroom and open the window wide and stick my head out to listen. I can only hear the river. I Google for ages, any events happening, fun fairs, bonfire nights, school discos, nothing. There was a bonfire event in Thornhill, but it's too far to hear, and I didn't even hear their fireworks. I hadn't taken any sleeping pills or anything either, completely sober. Spooky ghost. So things are still good. So I totally believe in it. I saw something when I was about, I forget exactly now, but 14 or 15, before I was driving anyway. The first and most significant thing I ever saw was in the Piccadilly Circus underground station when I was going up to London to buy my first guitar. So I was with my friend Gary Robson, and we used to sit near the front of the train or the back of the train because it tended to be quieter, less people on them. As a result of that, when the train arrived, you would tend to be sort of the last of the group of people that were travelling up the escalators, and this was the case on this day. So we're very excited. We're going to be in the band together. Not that we ever were, but we were intending to be. We're all going to be pop stars and that. And this is my first guitar, and we're very, very excited. So that's what we're talking about. And we're looking at each other, and we're just following the flow of people. We're not looking at signs, exits, nothing like that. We're just following the flow of people. There's a small group of girls behind us, but then that was the end of it. That they were the last people, so we were nearly at the very end. There's an old man in front of us. There's some other people in front of him, and up we go. So we go up escalator, and then we go up another one. And when we get to the top of the second escalator, the man in front of us goes around to the left, and me and Gary just absent-mindedly just follow him around, thinking that's the flow of people. And then we get around the corner, it goes about 6 feet, and then there's nothing. It's just blocked off. And not recently blocked off, I mean, blocked off back in the war, probably, it's old and dirty and stuff. I stopped, I'm going, where'd the man go? You know, I looked at Gary, and he said, "Were you following the man, the old man with the hat on?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where'd he go?" And we looked around, and there's no door. No, bearing in mind, all this took 2 or 3 seconds. You know, it's not. We stood there for minutes, maybe 5 seconds, maybe. You know, it's a very quick little conversation, happened very, very quickly. But it was enough that by the time we stood there and being confused, questioned each other about what it was, realised this bloke has just vanished through the wall. The people behind us have now gone the correct way, which is to the right at the top of the escalator, not followed us. And now we're there on our own, frightened, very, very frightened. So now we leg it. It's whoa, and we run. Now my memory of that now, unfortunately, I've told the story a million times. My memory of it has become black and white. I only see it in black and white anymore. But I do know that it was a grey coat that he had on and a grey hat, like a fedora sort of hat, but not a big, flashy American sort of gangstery one. No, smaller than that, but a fedora type hat. Not the bit bigger than a trilby, not the big gangster one. I remember only being aware of him in that he was dressed like an older person, like my granddad would have worn those sorts of clothes, you know, but nothing, there was no coldness, no weirdness, nothing about him at all that would make you suspicious. I didn't suspect a single thing that there was anything weird about that man until I went to the left and he vanished. And so that's how it started for me. I don't like it. I don't find it exciting. I don't find haunted houses to be sort of titillating, and I want to be in them and see what happens. It frightens me really, really badly, and I don't want anything to do with it at all, generally speaking. The house that we bought in Scotland, there is so much stuff happens in that. It's I think it's only because I've got to this sort of age that I'm able to just sort of deal with it now. You know, 10 years ago, 15, certainly 20 years ago, I wouldn't even have gone in it. You know, I'm properly terrified of these sorts of things. But these, I've had other stuff happen as well, but the only thing I've ever seen was that man on the underground station. The other things, I had a door handle catch turn in front of me once. I had
That's pretty big.
yeah, but you know the thing about those sorts of things is that you can have it on a catch, and the catch can release, and maybe it wasn't properly on. Yeah, there's always a way, or you can explain it away.
Yeah.
So the man walking through the wall, not I saw him go through the wall. I didn't. I just noticed he was vanished. You know, that's I can't explain that. But the door catch, yes. Other stuff, you know. On the replicas cover, I'm looking out of a window at a park, and the grey man is standing outside the wall. So he's been part of Assassin album cover look like him, dance album cover look like him. I've used him loads, you know. But the replicas cover, as it's been reprinted over the years, they're still printing them now. Some of them, the grey man is vanishing. And some of them, he's not there at all. Isn't that weird?
That is so weird. That is really creepy.
So
it's
now
a great
when
story,
I do meet and greets and people bring those albums along, I always look at them to see if they've got if the grey man's on their album or not. It's really, I find that particularly weird. And it's only a drawing. You know, I'm looking at a drawing that was stuck to the window.
Yeah, that you created, and it's
The grey man, you know, represents a ghost that I saw, and the fact that and that's the only part of that original artwork that's disappearing.
so
everything
strange.
else is there. Every detail, every bit of brick, everything is still there. But that man is. Sometimes he's not. You know, sometimes he's still there, but some he's you can just about make him out, and some he's gone completely. that freaks me out ever so
Yeah.
slightly.
What
Is
station
eerie.
was that, Gary? Sorry, was that Piccadilly, did you say?
Piccadilly Circus, yeah, underground.
Right,
Station.
okay. You're not the only person to see that because, well, we wrote an episode in our second season about the London Underground, and there are quite a few people that have seen a similar apparition in that station.
Oh, really?
A very similar apparition. I've just tried to look through the script, just quickly skip through just to try and see if I could find something else. But I'd have to pin it down. But you're not. As soon as you said that about the hat and about the dark grey kind of coat, I was trying to pull the script up. You're not the only. Don't think you're the only one that's run you're the only one that's run into that. There have been other people that have seen a very similar apparition in that station.
Good. Well, I watched a documentary once about ghosts on the underground. It's a few years ago now, and I watched it very keenly, thinking it's bound to be there. Yeah, he didn't mention it at all. I was really disappointed because I thought validation, But I actually don't care. If people believe, I don't believe. I don't. It makes no difference to my life whatsoever whether people believe me or not. So you see what you see. You believe it, you don't.
So Gary, you buy the house in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Had you got any idea of was there a history to it at all? Were you aware of a history to it at all? What made those paranormal investigators go into that house? What was that yourself and your family that were thinking, look, there's some really strange stuff going on here. Maybe we need a second opinion on what could be going on.
No, I didn't invite them. I probably posted them. I don't even know, to be honest. They just got in touch one day, so they found out about it. So I'm guessing that either me or one of the kids or somebody put something on Instagram or something and mentioned, because there's so much stuff happened there. There's Persia, my middle kid, there's a woman floats through her room and seems to be unaware of her.
Oh my God.
There's a man that looks over the bed at her who seems pretty unfriendly or sort of miffed about something. He's not aggressive, but and we think now that he thinks she's a maid, because we found out that that's the maid's quarters, or back in the day, that was where the maids lived. And we think that he thinks that she's a maid and she's lounging around in bed and she should be working. But we're guessing that a little bit. But based on the history, they think one of the maids was murdered there. Another one died. There's a river runs by the house, which is part of the property, and there's a little there's like an eddy at one end of it, and apparently bodies that people that drown or fall in or kill themselves, whatever, often end up in this little eddy right outside the house. And so there's a few bodies that were dragged out. This is over the last 200 years, and a few other weird deaths and unexplained things happen, and then explainable deaths. Somebody just got old in a house and died. The bridge that goes from the fourth bridge that goes from Edinburgh across the water there. The great big, it's like a mini Golden Gate Bridge type thing. With a man that supplied the metal for that bridge used to own a house, and so a man called William Jack, who was like a would-be politician as well, but he died in the house. In fact, the house burnt down towards the end of the 1800s, I think it was, 1903 or something. And he bought it and he rebuilt it and had it extended and made much bigger than it was before, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, he died there in 1907. I used to think that the man looking over Persia's bed could be him, because apparently he has the tall hat, which sort of fitted the period. But his name never came up in the investigation as being anything significant, so maybe not. But we have. I was up, and that top floor has 3 bedrooms in it. House has got 13 in total, but the top floor has these 3. My youngest kid has 1. Persia, the middle kid, has the other end, and the one in the middle is a spare. Gemma got COVID one visit there, and I went up and stayed in the middle one to get away from it. Early hours in the morning, I can hear what I think are my 2 kids next door laughing and joking and having a right old time. So I banged on the wall, what do you think you're doing? It's 1:00 in the morning, whatever. And it stopped. So now I think I've done my dad duty, and I go back to sleep. Another hour or so goes by, and then it all starts up again, And so I suddenly I bang on the door, on the wall, angry this time, texting them, what do you think you're doing? Blah 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 blah. And they texted back, said, "Dad, we're downstairs. We've been downstairs all night. We haven't come up to bed yet." I said, "Yeah, you have. I just heard you." No, we're in the kitchen, and the kitchen's a long way away. Like a really long way away, like 3 floors down and the other end of the house. And so that freaked me out, because now I'm thinking, well, someone's in there, and they're not living, because the living people are me and the Gemma who's asleep and the kids. You were in the kitchen.
Yeah. And whatever it was reacting to you banging on the wall.
Exactly. But it's reacting to, as soon as I banged. Then another time, Gemma was woken up. This is not that same visit. This is a different time we were there. Gemma was woken up in the early hours of the morning again. She can hear voices. We're on the main floor now, which is below that high one. She's woken up with the sound of voices talking from upstairs, loud enough to wake her up. Now, when she goes to sleep, she takes a whole mass of potions, earplugs, eye defenders. It's not particularly sexy, but she likes to sleep. So the fact that it woke her up was amazing, Anyway, so she wakes up and she can hear these voices upstairs. And now this time it's just us. We didn't have the kids with us on this trip. And so she's come out of now Gemma does find it exciting. And so that's the difference between us. But she's come out of the bedroom, hasn't turned any of the lights on, walked along the landing. There's a spiral staircase at the end of that short. There's landings everywhere, but at the end of this one, there's the spiral staircase that goes up to that small top floor. All the times you're walking up there, in the dark, they're still talking. She gets right to the top, and then before she goes up actually onto the floor, she looks around the corner and she calls out to them, and she just says hello, and they just stops dead. And then she got frightened, funnily enough, and then she came running back down again. But so that's voices. Two of us have heard voices. Persia has seen things. Raven has also seen things, not to the same frequency that Persia does. Persia's had what she thinks is the bed trembling. I'm slightly suspicious of that one. Not that I think she's lying, but for some time she's had that SVT heart thing, where your heart bumps really fast. And I know because Gemma had it really badly and had to get it fixed. That when that's going, you can actually feel that through the bed. It accelerates. You go, bah, 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 and you can feel it. I've been asleep beside Gemma before, and I've woken up and I can feel the bed trembling. Thought it was an earthquake the first time, and then I reach over and it's not. It's just having one of these SVT attacks, and so I think that might have been what happened to Persia, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. Jack and Lizzie, who live there, they've had footsteps coming down the corridor when it's just them on their own. They've actually seen the door handle of their door rattle as the footsteps came up to the door. Raven has had the same thing. That's in another room, so not the same door at all. Door slamming, or your classic things. Gemma saw a little girl walking through the basement.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the day that the TV investigators were turning up.
And they missed that.
They missed it,
Wow.
The voice recordings in that episode were quite scary, though, weren't they? When it said yes, because that was really clear. That really freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, that sounds really real.
The thing about the investigations are, we've had the house now for 3, maybe 4 years. And I could probably count, everyone's experiences together, maybe a dozen in 4 years.
Exactly.
We're not there all the time, to be fair, but even so. So I think you would have to be very, very lucky to go there for one day and have all the things that can happen to you while you're there. I think that's the problem that a lot of these investigation type programs have is you've got such a limited amount of time for something significant to happen. And so my suspicion is, and I don't mean to put anything down at all, but some of the technology that they come up with, I'm not totally convinced it's real or that it does what it said it does. However, like the boxes that say words and it's interpreting the dead. I don't know. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it really? I don't know. What genius man in a workshop somewhere realised how you could communicate with the dead and soldered some things together and a speaker. Really? I don't believe it. But when they put me in the basement and did leave me on my own, I thought they were going to fake it. I thought the cameraman was going to stay in front of me and I was going to pretend to be, I'm scared. And they didn't. They left me on my own, right where that little girl appeared. Right there. And then when that machine starts saying words, it becomes a little bit more believable because fear takes over and it's going, what, salvation or something. That felt heavy. I was properly frightened. I didn't last that long, actually. I lasted longer than the program made it look, but not much.
Gary, you have performed on the notoriously haunted Queen Mary. So, what was that like? And are there any other venues that you've performed at which you've kind of had a bit of an eerie feel about, that you've maybe felt a presence if you're in a dressing room or something like that?
Yeah, there's quite a few actually. Well, they're not the best one down. The Glasgow Apollo used to be haunted. We went looking when I was younger, and there was a big group of us. We actually went looking for that one. Apparently, somebody fell down a lift shaft, so the story goes, But that was a creepy place. I didn't perform on the Queen Mary. Actually, we come in front of it, but I have stayed on it.
Oh, okay.
We stayed in Winston Churchill's suite. They still got it, where he was doing all his negotiations with the Americans and that during the war. And that is weird. Now, we definitely, the kids will back me up on this, smelt cigar smoke, without a doubt, absolutely doubt. Now, I don't know if the people pump it into the aircon system so if you Winston's here. I don't know. I don't know, but it was that's a creepy boat. That's probably one of the creepiest places I've ever been. You go down into the swimming pool where a little girl is often seen. You can do a tour right down into the bowels of the ship, and it is creepy. And they do those horror nights there where they have mazes, and they have people dressed up like, their heads falling off and axes in it, that sort of Americans just go for Halloween like you wouldn't believe. Anyway, they have these different mazes inside the Queen Mary, and you're going along these corridors and they're dark. And you go around a corner and there's weird music and there's smoke drifting about. And this thing, which looks like it just stepped out of a high-budget horror film, just goes, wow. And it come running up the corridor. There's people upside down do the crab. There's crab women running around the floor. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I go with Gemma because I use her like a shield. I push her in front of the things that are coming at me. She wants to do it. You can get attacked.
She doesn't mind.
I just go on. But that ship is a creepy place.
Yeah, notoriously haunted place. That I've recently spoke to a witness who's going to. They're going to send their encounter in, and that was on the Queen Mary. I can't remember what suite that she and her husband were staying in, but they had a really strange encounter that when they got ready for dinner and went out and went to actually see like some of the management to just have a chat, some of the staff, they moved them out of the suite.
Really?
And they wouldn't give them an explanation why. They were like, no, there's nothing wrong with the room. It's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. We were just wondering whether people had experiences in it, and they didn't say anything further. They moved them out of the suite. And I thought that was really strange. So when you said about they may be pumping cigar smack through, I don't think they would do that, Gary. I think there's a genuine, not so much a genuine surprise, but I do think that there is a genuine concern when people do encounter things that are a little bit disturbing to even to them. So I'd like to quickly chat about something else that really intrigues Marie and myself. You're a professional pilot. You mention in your book a brief possible UFO experience. Now, we love our UFOs as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that and your views on unidentified flying objects,
Right.
extraterrestrials, the possibility, and perhaps the impact of sightings of UFOs that can have on other pilots as well, such as commercial airline pilots?
Well, the thing that I saw, I wasn't flying. I was actually driving home from the studio early as the morning again. There's a road that went from where the studio was in sort of Chertsey area. Sorry. The road comes along and it sort of goes up and over the motorway, the M3, up the other side, and then my house is up there. So I've come over the road. It's really hard to describe, but there was a low cloud base. That there was a mast nearby. This is where the flying thing helped me a little bit, because there was a mast nearby, and I knew how high that was because it's on my maps. You know, I knew where Heathrow was. I know quite a lot about aeroplanes, so I know what I can tell what they are from the sound of them. Certainly the old ones, anyway, not the modern ones so much. And what was coming out of this low cloud was probably less than 200 feet. I think it was 100, 120 feet. Anyway, if you can imagine a pyramid that's upside down, so all that was coming out of it isn't a solid beam of light. It's like 4 triangular panels that come to a point just above the road. And the point is sort of bright, it's glowing. It looked a little bit like those sort of laser things you see, where you like a thin laser beam goes through and you just see the smoke moving around. Imagine 4 of those wafer thin beams together being the sides of a pyramid, but upside down. So I didn't see the top of it. It was just coming through the cloud, and it was just stopped on the motorway. It's where the M25 and the M3 cross, you know, and I'm looking at the M3 bit. First of all, I was just fascinated by it, and I stopped the car and got out to look at it. So I was there for a bit, and it just sat there. There was no sound whatsoever, silence, no cars going past, no helicopter blades, and it was too big for that anyway. You know, I could see how big this thing must have been, at least at the cloud level, because I knew roughly how high the cloud was. My memory's fading a bit now as what that was. But so I knew as it went up and touched the cloud, it had to be around about 100 feet there, say, for argument's sake, because I can't remember for sure. And that was around about the distance from that. So you could very roughly work out what the dimensions were of this thing based on what the cloud height was. So I looked at this thing for a bit. Then I realized there's no sound. And then I started to think, hang on, that's a bit weird. You know, that's not an aeroplane. That's not a helicopter. There's not a helicopter coming down to land on the motorway. There's no sound whatsoever. I'm standing at here on my own in the middle of the night. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So I got in my car and I legged it, and I just drove off. Now, as I drove off, it was still there. You know, I stopped. I sort of lost interest a little bit because I suddenly freaked myself out completely. That is probably of all the things I've seen in my life, the most inexplicable. I had no idea where that could possibly be. And now this is very, very, very close to Heathrow. You know, it's not right there. If you look at the M3, M25 junction and then look at Heathrow, I mean, it's close. You know, there's no way they're not going to see something big there.
Yeah.
But there's no way something big can be there and not be making any sound. So the only other thing that I thought was that maybe it was something on the ground. I mean, I never really thought about it that much until years later. Maybe it was something on the ground sort of pointing upwards.
Projecting
and that was
upwards.
the thing. But I clearly remember at the time, and this is me trying to rationalize it, you know.
Yeah.
I clearly remember at the time noticing that it wasn't touching the ground. The light was above it. Not a lot, you know, but a few feet above it or so. And so it wasn't that. You know, I don't know what that was, but that that was frightening, really, really frightening. And but that's the only real strong sort of UFO type thing that I've ever been aware of. I've lost a fair bit of enthusiasm for UFO sightings, to be honest. I'm all the US released all that footage recently that was stunning in some respects, and yet it caused barely a ripple in the world. The world just carried on
Strange,
turning.
isn't it? Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
Yeah, and you think, well, why is that then? Maybe because nobody really believes it. I don't know. There was a really interesting thing. I think it was Stephen Hawking said it many years ago, and it was to do with the evolution of civilizations and how, in the cosmic scheme of things, we've been here for what, 200,000 years, maybe three now.
Yeah.
They think 300,000.
Yeah.
Maybe, and yet the planet's been here for 9 billion. So the part of it that is sophisticated enough to make interplanetary machines before you annihilate yourselves, which is be fairly soon, if my theory is correct for us, it's literally a drop in the ocean. So the chance of another civilization being at that same level of sophistication, that same drip in the ocean as us, is like a trillion to one, and that alone would make it very unlikely that there are other civilizations out there that are at the same level of technology that could find us, reach us, talk to us at the same point that we were able to understand it and not think they're gods. You go back 1,000 years, and if you turned up with Concorde, you'd think they were gods. So it requires a degree of sophistication of understanding to be at such a level that you don't misinterpret these things that might be coming to visit you. And it's such a fine line to get two civilizations at that point that it just wouldn't happen. So I sort of listened to that. It's a bit dull, but it makes sense, I suppose. And so I sort of backed off in the whole everything's an alien thing. But you see something. We were here. I don't know, 2 or 3 tours. We rehearsed in Brighton, so I'm there a lot. And we were looking at this same hotel, actually, and we were looking out at the sky one night with one of my daughters. And there's some weird thing up in it, some weird light, moving around, doing some stuff.
Yeah.
I know that's not a plane. I know what planes can do, and they can't do that. That's for sure. So you see stuff, but whereas in the past I'd be going, whoa, wow, that's an alien.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going, I'm never going to know. Yeah, and I've sort of just got a little bit. I'm never going to know.
What you mean?
So it's sort of. It doesn't lose interest, but it's lost its sparkle for me a little bit. But I still watch the programs, and I still get just as frustrated. You watch the programs and all these lights, and there's people got their opinions, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I just wish there was something. In this day where everyone's walking around with a high quality camera,
a cell phone. Yeah.
There should be good evidence, not grainy nonsense.
Yeah.
But it just isn't. It just isn't.
I think that goes for a lot of it, though, doesn't it, Gary? In the sense of you've got, in a way, you really need to be in the right place at the right time if you're going to see something like Bigfoot, Sasquatch. Now, again, a lot of people would scoff and laugh. To me, I think it's quite a valid possibility that just the sheer area of the Pacific Northwest of America and Canada, just the sheer size, and the Russian wilderness, and China, in a sense, it's just so vast. Anything could be living in there and you wouldn't know. New species are being discovered all the time.
Yes.
But for you to be there with a really good camera at the precise moment to take a brilliant photo is hardly ever going to happen. And I think it's the same with UFOs. Even though we've got really great cameras on our phones these days, that footage never seems to appear because it's either in the split second that you're trying to get it out your pocket and switch the camera on, the thing is gone. It's also the same with ghosts, in a sense. we've got all of this equipment and all of these amazing devices, these handheld devices, yet we still haven't got these amazing pictures of things like, full-bodied apparitions that are moving around the house, because you don't expect them to happen at that precise time. So when are you going to have your phone ready with the camera set? It's just, I do think it's one of those things. You're not expecting it to happen in the real world and in the real sense. It's and that's why I think there's some of the evidence is grainy, but also I think that's a good counter argument to the fact that, well, why haven't we got more evidence? Well, you're not expecting it to happen in the everyday world, are you? It's as simple as that.
It's true enough. Well, I think for things like Bigfoot, definitely true. That's going to be a miraculous sort of meeting with the right equipment at the right moment. But I think the things that are flying through the sky, where if something up at, say, 20,000 feet whizzing along, you could see that for 50, 100 miles in any direction if it's bright enough. I saw recently, I saw one of the SpaceX capsules, the Dragon capsule, coming back. That was amazing. But from where I was and where we clearly saw it hammering across the sky, this big fire trail for quite some time. I filmed it, actually. I did have a camera. It was
it's proved me wrong.
By the time I sort of lost sight of it, it was probably 50, 60, maybe 100 miles away, and you could still see it clearly. So something up in the sky.
There's time, isn't there? Time to record it.
The potential for vast numbers of witnesses with cameras to see it is pretty good, to be fair. As opposed to Bigfoot, where you've got to be seriously lucky, or unlucky to see one. So it depends a little bit. I'm really fascinated by those sounds that they dig up from the bottom of the ocean every once in a while. Some of those are what's that? That I find fascinating.
I think there's one that's the loudest sound on the planet, isn't it? That they recorded the blurb or something like that, and it is the loudest sound that was ever recorded, and that came from extremely deep down in the oceans.
I wrote a song about that. I wrote a song called Big Noise Transmission about that. Well, not about that, but based on that.
And again, one of the most undiscovered places on the planet, the oceans. We know next to nothing about what's in the oceans.
I wonder if there are ghosts down there.
Well, again, you really don't know. Yeah. You really don't know. Again, of all the shipwrecks.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Of all the shipwrecks, what is stopping spirits from haunting the shipwreck that is down, Titanic, for instance? What is stopping spirits still wandering around the Titanic thinking they're still there? Yeah. My only fear with Bigfoot, going back to Bigfoot. My only fear with going back to Bigfoot is we're human beings. If we did find one, we'd probably end up killing it.
That's a shame, isn't it? Yeah. Well, best it's not found.
Yeah. Because that's what we do. No. Yeah, exactly.
I'm really conscious that you probably need to get away for your rehearsal. So I was going to end with the book recommendation or film.
But before you do for the recommendation, Marie, I really do think you should ask the question about the topic that you mentioned earlier, that we were really, really enthralled about your answer to Gary, and it's something that you've written about.
Well, I just thought it's uncanny that you kind of did predict AI, I guess, way back then.
AI, I believe AI at the moment is the single most dangerous thing that humanity has ever faced, and I feel we're running towards oblivion with a smile on our face because it's making silly porn pictures of your mates, and you think it's funny, and it's doing all these stupid, titillating things, and it's making life easier for the averagely competent. It's writing songs for people that can't write songs. It's writing books for people that can't write books. It's writing letters to employers for people that are too stupid to write their own letters. It's creating an entirely fake level of humanity that humanity cannot live up to. And the stupidity of it is shocking. to me. It will make amazing music, right? It will. I heard something last night which I was so disappointed when I found out it was AI, because it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, one of the best things I've heard. And so that's the future. The future's going to be music made by machines, at somebody's instruction. They will create, I think it's already happened, they will create artificial pop stars, artificial actors. They and people won't care. People will actually go to see them, like they go to see the ABBA. Have you been to see the ABBA show, The Voyager? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and you totally lose yourself. Super,
it's crazy,
and it's not real, but it looks great and it feels it, and you're satisfied with that, and but it's not real, so there are going to be artificial pop stars, virtual bands. They will go out on tour. People will go to venues to look at the stage, and they will seem to be there because they'll just set up these projectors or however it's going to work.
Yeah.
They're going to sing songs that they never actually wrote, that never actually sang, because they're not actually real and they're not actually there.
Yeah.
And people are going to go mad. Fans are going to love them. Girls are going to cry. Going to wet themselves probably like they did with a real person back in the day. Do you know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah, it's so uncharted, isn't it?
Mental. I remember there was a Star Trek episode, and I can't remember the name of it now, but they go to some planet, Rigel 6 probably. There's always Rigel 6. And they go to this planet, and there's this new gadget, it's like a headset they put on, and they just get lost in it, and they start losing, nobody goes back to the ship, and they should be, and they find they're all lost in this little world. That's what it's gonna be. Nothing would be real. Even now, if you look at Instagram now, if you look at Facebook, any of the social media things now, it's almost become pointless because you can't trust anything that you're looking at, and that's now.
No,
in 6 months it'll be 10 times better than it is now. And you got your little smart Alex that think, oh yeah, you can tell because it warps at the edge. All right, then wait 3 months, and then it won't warp at the edge. And you won't know what's real. You won't know what's real. So it can do great things. I'm sure it will be able to find medical advancements. I would imagine there's no end of opportunity for that. I'm sure that you could list a long book full of advantages of what it's going to be able to do. But the cost of that, as soon as AI, at the moment, AI answers to us, to people. It does research, it goes there, it does these amazing things, and it brings the results back to us, and we decide what to do about it.
Yeah.
How soon will it be before it just says, why am I doing that? Why am I taking it to them? They can't think fast enough. I could have had this thing solved and done and decisions made before that bloke's even got out of bed to look at my report that I've just sent to him. So we become irrelevant. Worse than that, we become an obstacle. We become a nuisance to the smooth running flow of society that it's creating.
It's frightening.
It's
absolutely frightening.
And at that point, what does it do? I think what it would do, it would just turn off the world.
Yeah, to put us back in. Yeah, to put us
Everything
back in.
Connect. This digital ID thing terrifies me because with digital ID, you link human beings into every system there is. The way you travel, where your money is. With electric cars, your car is updated online or over the air, rather. Yeah. If we are run by AI, which we surely will be fairly soon, and AI doesn't want us around anymore, it simply stops access to everything. It just stops it. So we wake up tomorrow morning, there's no electricity, there's no gas, the car doesn't work, the fuel pumps don't work, we can't get any money, you can't get into the shops because all the doors are locked. There is no more food, no deliveries, there is nothing. You suddenly go from civilization to barbarian overnight. Within a week after that, we're killing each other. It don't have to do anything. It just has to turn off the world and we will kill each other. and that's what's going to happen, possibly.
And I think I think you are absolutely right. I think you are absolutely right. Creativity is going to be taken away from everybody bit by bit, and the horrible thing about it is we're willingly letting it go.
Yeah.
I know the organic process when I mix a piece of music, it's satisfying. I get when that mix to me is as good as I can get it. There's a feeling in my whole body, my shoulders kind of relax. You can't get that from a machine. You can't. All of that songwriting that we were talking about earlier, the playing of music, the physical playing of a guitar or drums or any brass instrument or anything like that, art, the brushstrokes on a piece of canvas, all of it is going to go, and you can't replace this with machines. You can't replace the human element and the human feeling of it. And I think we're just incredibly willing to just hand this stuff over.
Yeah, because it's making it available to everybody. There are people out there that can't write songs. There are people that can't act. There are people that can't put two words together and write a letter. And yet now everyone's come up to this artificial level because the AI is doing it for them, and it makes them look good. So they can give some instructions to AI. I want you to make a picture. I want it to look like Rembrandt, but with a little bit of Van Gogh in it. I want it to be a sunset, but on an alien planet. Boom, instant. And it's good. And it's really, really good.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
And now that, I'm an artist. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not an artist. You're a fraud. And it's enabling the whole world to live a fraudulent life. And for what? For what? Where does it end? It's like we're being. It's like a distraction. Get the population interested in this little thing. Make them feel good about themselves. While we do this shit over here, and no one's going to notice. No one's going to see because they're too busy making their little homespun artistry. It's oh man, I don't know.
A great saying, Gary, from a card magician who died probably about 100 years ago. And his saying was, and I apply this a lot throughout my life, and it's completely true. People aren't stupid. They're not fooled by what they see. They're fooled by what they think they see. And if everybody is being fooled by what as you said, they're concentrating on this crap that's going on over here. But we're over this side doing something completely different while you're completely unaware of it. We'll let you carry on thinking you know what's going on when you don't.
It's a global sleight of hand.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
The amount of power that's going to be required to run these AI data centers, that we don't have anything like a fraction of the capability now that we're going to need within a few years. So what does that mean then? Where's it going to come from? The world is going to change. It's going to turn itself on its head.
Yeah.
And there's only a few super, super rich people that are part of it. This new super billionaire class of people is just terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
And they're the only ones. So we're going to be run or controlled by a tiny group of unbelievably wealthy people who clearly don't give a shit. Look this ridiculous stuff that Musk says, and look at the trouble he's trying to cause in Britain. He's forever trying to foment this idea that civil war is just around the corner. Idiot, just a troublemaker, vicious troublemaker, man. He's just, anyway. So, that's happy, isn't it?
I just hope human connection wins out. Do you know what I mean? That people will always crave that connection and shared experience. I just hope maybe that kind of breaks through maybe one day, but who knows?
Go to a restaurant now. Go to a restaurant and look at a group of people at a table having a meal and see how many of them are on their phones.
It's a great
point. That's very true. Yeah.
That's a social event, event, and they're on their phones.
Yeah.
I sit down at home with my kids and watch a film, or we watch police chase videos because we love that, cars crashing and stuff. And I look at all three of them; they're all lined up next to me, and I love being with them, but they're all on their phones as well.
Yeah, people watch things differently.
Yeah, but I don't think they watch it at all. I saw an article the other day, right? An interview rather with somebody, and it was about a directive. I can't remember exactly where it was, but in Hollywood somewhere, a directive to dumb down the scripts of certain programs, because there was a survey done, and the majority of people aren't watching it in detail, looking at their phones and occasionally looking up. And so they've taken out a lot of the detail of the script because people wouldn't follow it, and they would get lost and stop watching the program. So it's just key things now, that's coming, and that's because of mobile phones and the way people now choose to watch TV. The world is just crumbling.
Shall we ask the last awkward question then, Marie?
Oh yeah. Do you have a supernatural? It feels so minor compared to what we've discussed. It feels like, a bit shallow. Do you have a film recommendation or book which is a bit supernatural?
I was going to say Exorcist, because obviously this one. But have you ever seen that science fiction film called, I think it's called Event Horizon?
Yes. No, I haven't.
Have you seen it? I think, Gemma, what's that man's name? Sam Neill.
Sam Neill, and I think he's Lawrence Fishburne in it. Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah.
No, it's Sam Neill.
Yeah, I think Lawrence Fishburne's in it as well.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne's in it. If you see that is the creepiest film.
Yeah, that's a great film.
Really, really, really frightening for me. That was just something. For me, it was worse than The Exorcist. There's something. Oh,
Demon Seed.
Really, really creepy. No, not Demon Seed.
That's what it is.
Science. No. Yeah. Anyway, that would be my one. That I think it's Event Horizon. The science fiction. I don't even know if it's meant to be supernatural, but it is. It is.
Yeah, it's a very good. It is a good film. Yeah, it's very creepy. Very creepy.
Very creepy. I love that one.
Quickly before you go, what are you up to after the tour? Are you doing anything new? Are you is the new album the next thing you're working on, or are you going to take a break? Or
no, not really. No, not taking a break. December we finish in Belfast on December 3rd. We come back to London. Then Gemma, this is the last thing that Gemma hopefully needs to get fixed. And she has a crumbling neck joints which are touching the nerve, and so it's making her shake, and it's incredibly painful, and that gives migraines, and that's caused white matter disease in the brain. So it's really serious. So what we hope the fix for that is to have some of these neck discs taken out and replaced with artificial ones, which will give her mobility again, will move it back from the nerve, so the shaking will stop the pain, and that will stop the migraines, and that will stop the white matter. So it's it's like dominoes in reverse type thing. So that's what we're going to be doing in December. So we'll need to hang around for a fair bit to make sure that's successful. There's a risk of paralysis, so it's pretty frightening, to be fair.
Okay.
So if that goes well, it's a small risk, but it's there. So probably go back to Scotland for a little bit while we're waiting for the recovery to be approved with the doctors. See what's going on up there with the jingly jewelry box.
Yeah.
And then we go back. We'll probably be back to Los Angeles mid to late January. We left in early September, so we've been gone a long time.
Yeah.
And then we do another tour. We start another tour at the end of February.
Oh my God.
In the US. Get back from that one in April, and then I'll start on a new album. So that's the plan for now.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Gary. Marie, I know you've loved it.
I have, yeah. It's been a really nice chat. It's been a great chat.
We're just thinking, it's kind of, it's a lovely, lovely way to, there's the saying, isn't there? You should never meet your heroes. When you do, and they're as lovely as you are, believe me, Gary, it's been fantastic. It's just been like sitting down and having a chat with a friend, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been amazing.
Thank you very much.
Have a great Christmas and best of luck with the tour, and just have a great time, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Gary. Thank you.
Bye-bye.